Hey guys, Cronus Falls here, and today I am going to be showing you guys another clan boss comp, this time on my alt account. It is what I am currently running, and it is also going to be a 2-1 speed tune. Now this one is not going to be unkillable, which is going to make it a little bit more gear intensive, and you're going to have specific champions to make it work fully. But let's go ahead and jump into it here. So we are going to start with the Theorycrafting. So we're going to go over to deadwoodjedi.com here. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the comp and how it works, what speeds you need, all that kind of stuff. Very useful website if you haven't been using it already. I would highly suggest it, especially to plug things in and make sure that everything comes out properly with the true speeds of your champions. So let's go ahead and take a look at the comp here. We are going to have Grizzled Jarl. So he is coming in here for his A2, which is going to give us a block debuffs as well as increased defense. So he has his A2 on a 3-turn cooldown actually, but the way this website works is it prioritizes it based on A3 over A2, A2 over A1, etc. So since he prioritizes his A2, we're going to go ahead and put it in the A3 slot, and then we'll know that when it says A3 here, he's actually using his A2. Then his A3 is on a 4-turn cooldown, so we've got it in the A2 slot at 4 turns. Next we have Dracomorph here. So Dracomorph is what's going to allow me to get a 3 key on this. Obviously a lot of you are not going to have Dracomorph, so you can put in whatever DPS champion you have. It could be Rosin Scarhide, it could be Occult Brawler. There's really any number of options that could go into this slot here, but for me it is going to be Dracomorph, and with his cooldowns, they are both on 3-turn cooldowns, so that's what we've got here. And then for my attack down champion, we are going to have Padma. Padma has a 100% chance to land the attack down on her A1. It is very consistent, and when we're going 2-1 like this with counterattack, it's almost impossible for her to not keep it up the entire fight. So she is a really good option here. Now I will say there is another option that would be really good if I had them, but we could replace both Padma and Grizzled Jarl with 2 Sepulchre Sentinels, with their block debuffs being on a 4-turn cooldown. Having 2 of them, we could actually block all debuffs coming in from the clan boss, the stun and the slow on the green, forever basically. It's a really good combo, but since we do not have those, this is what we're going to be running with today. So Padma will be my attack down champion. Her A3 and her A2 are both on 3-turn cooldowns. Then the crux of the matter that's going to help us stay alive for a long time is Valkyrie. So Valkyrie obviously puts up really huge shields for us. She's going to let us last a lot longer into the fight than we would otherwise. And she just has an A2 on a 3-turn cooldown here. You could also use a ally protection champion such as a Skull Crusher would be very good in this slot. Not as good as Valkyrie, I would say, but definitely better than not having anything in there. If you did not have a counterattack champion, you could put someone like Tyrant in here. It's still good to go 2-1 and be on a specific tune. You'll still get some pretty good damage out of that, so keep it in mind. And then we also have the Batman himself, Seeker. He is coming in here to make this a 2-1 comp. So he has his A2. It's actually on a 3-turn cooldown, but since he takes an extra turn, it's basically on a 2-turn cooldown. So we're going to go ahead and put 2 in here. And that is what is going to be the engine of our build. It is going to allow us to take 2 turns to the clan boss's 1 starting on turn 4. So now let's go ahead and get into the speeds here. So Grizzled Jarl, we want him to be last in our rotation because he is going to be placing block debuffs for 1 turn, not 2. So we need to make sure that he is going right before the debuff comes out. So like I said, it needs to be last in rotation, and in this 265 spot you'll see here, he is going to come in before clan boss stun 1. He is actually not the last to go, but so we're going to want to make sure that the stun is not coming in on Seeker. That is very important, so keep that in mind. Seeker is going to go after Grizzled Jarl before stun 1. Luckily for my setup, Basically, Seeker is never going to take the stun. Dracomorph will take it instead against a red clan boss. Or against a Void, we would have Padma in the front. We'd also have Padma in front against green. And then against a blue clan boss, it would go on Valkyrie, all of which would be blocked by the block debuffs from Grizzled Jarl. So this does run very well on auto, with Grizzled Jarl doing this. Next, Dracomorph, we have him at 247 speed. Now, I should go over this real quick, just before we get too far into it. So as you can see here, I am using Lore of Steel as well as speed sets to make these speeds possible, which is going to give us a true speed. So you want to get your true speed as close to these numbers as possible, and then you can check to make sure that everything lines up properly, which it does on this comp. I actually could have gotten Dracomorph to this 247 without Lore of Steel, but the reason that I didn't originally was that he would be going... here, let's go ahead and look at this here. So if I take off Lore of Steel, his speed is at 247.28, which actually would be fine. He'll be going before Valkyrie, but initially when I was setting it up, I had Valkyrie set at 3 speed sets, which would have made her faster than Dracomorph, which I did not want. So I went ahead and gave him Lore of Steel. Going back on it, you could probably get him into the defense tree instead and not have this Lore of Steel on him, but this is what I have built for the moment. This is what I'll be showing you, so that's what we'll go with. And then coming down here to Padma, we've got her, you want her around 220. So the way I had her set up, I wanted to get her into defense % boots, so I had to go Lore of Steel. With 3 speed sets, that brings her, when she says she's at 219 to 219.81. If I had her at 220, she would actually be at 220.81, which would also be fine. But 219 was easier for me to hit, and it was close enough, so that's what I went with. Then Valkyrie down here, you want her at about 247 speed. So with no Lore of Steel, 104 base speed, and 2 speed sets, she was at almost exactly 247, so that's perfect for us. And finally, we have Seeker down here at 248 speed, no Lore of Steel, and with 3 speed sets, that's going to bring him in right at 248.08, which is very close, perfect for us. And those are the speeds we are running today. So let's go ahead and look at what we should be seeing from our fights here. So as you can see, Grizzled Jarl is going to come in, and you just remember his A2, not his A3. On turn 1, and then we are going to get our Valkyrie A2. We're not putting any sort of delays on this for most affinities. So basically, I can just hit auto from the very start, and it's going to come through like this. Grizzled Jarl is going to go ahead and block the stun if it comes on Draco or Padma or Valkyrie. Or not Padma, sorry, on Draco or Valkyrie. We don't care if Padma takes a stun. She will be just fine. She's not going to mess up the comp at all if she takes a stun, which is very nice for us, as we'll see later. And then as soon as we get down to turn 4 here, that is when we are going to start to see everyone taking 2 turns to the boss's 1. So you can see we've got Padma going first, Seeker, Draco, Valkyrie, Grizzled Jarl, and then all 5 again. And that is going to play out throughout the rest of the fight. So very important here, we'll see with this setup, Grizzled Jarl's A3, which is actually his A2, is going to come in before the stun every single time, and therefore we are never going to take any stuns, and it's going to run properly. But if you are against a green affinity, there is something you can do to make it work as well. Basically, you just come in here and you delay his A2 by 1 turn. And since he does go first, it's super easy. All you have to do is come in, take it off auto, use his A3, and then hit auto, and it'll run perfectly fine for the rest of the fight. So you'll see here, he is going to use his... actually, right here, we're not going to see it, unfortunately. Basically, we are going to take 1 A2 from the boss, and we're going to get that slow speed for 2 turns, but luckily it's not going to mess up our comp. I've run it against green several times, and it has not been an issue at all. So very good. And then for the rest of the fight, we're going to see Grizzled Jarl using his A3 before the AoE 2. That way we're not getting any more reduced speed on any of our champions. And then against this comp, actually, instead of having Grizzled Jarl in the lead position, I put Padma in the lead position. And that is so that she is high up in the turn order. Typically the lead champion has priority for the stun, and I want to make sure that Valkyrie is not taking the stun because that would completely mess up our rotation. So we keep Padma up in front, that way she takes the stun hit and we will be fine throughout the fight. Alright, so we've gone over our different affinity scenarios. Basically against Void, against Blue, and against Red, this will run completely fine on auto. And against Green, all you have to do is take one move with Grizzled Jarl and then you can throw it on auto. So this is an extremely friendly comp as far as getting it running properly, and it does a lot of damage. So now that we've gone over the theory crafting, let's go ahead and get into the champion builds. So we are going to come over here and let's just go in order of the champions here. So first I have my Draco Morph. Now he's not in the most optimal build that he could be, but this is pretty good for our current setup. So he's at about 22k HP, which is pretty low, but I do want him taking the stun hits for us. So that is good to make sure that he is being properly targeted by the clan boss. So 22k HP, about 3000 attack, that way he's still hitting pretty hard. 2800 defense, I do want to get that up. Ideally I would want it over 3000. And then he's at his 247 speed, which is right. 86% crit rate, which I would also like to be closer to 100%. Optimally it would be 100%, but with my level of gear I don't think I can quite reach that at the moment. 247% crit damage is very good, and 258 accuracy to make sure he is constantly landing his debuffs. So that is a pretty good build on Draco Morph. Our Valkyrie here, or let me go over what his pieces have. I'll just go over these three as well as the jewelry. So he is in crit damage gloves, he is in a defense % chest plate, and speed boots. So the defense % chest plate is just to make sure that he is going to have the survivability he needs. This is not an unkillable comp, so he does need a somewhat decent level of defense. Since Valkyrie is going to be getting us fresh shields every time on the AoEs, we are going to survive for quite a while without 4000 defense. But I would say as long as you can get him close to 3000, you're going to be looking pretty good on Draco. He doesn't have a super high base defense, so you do what you can. And you do want to max out his damage as much as you can as well. And then when we come down here, I have him in a defense ring with good defense and attack % rolls, a crit damage amulet that is going to really increase our crit damage, make us do some more, with 21 accuracy on it, and an accuracy banner with 11 speed, and that is helping us to get to that 247 that we need, as well as keeping our accuracy in line. Next, let's talk about Valkyrie. So Valkyrie, I have her in 2 speed sets here, and I actually have her in speed boots to get her to that 247 that we are looking for. So typically when people run Valkyrie, they would put her in defense % gloves, defense % chest, and defense % boots. But when you're running her in this scenario and she is putting fresh shields on before each AoE, you do not actually need her to have that high of defense per se. You do want it to be high, as you'll see it definitely is, but it doesn't need to be like in the 6,000 to 7,000 range per se. Closer to 5,000 will be pretty good and last you pretty long into the fight. So we do have her in speed boots as well as the defense % chest and defense % gauntlets. And then when we look down here, it's all defense across the board. We've got 14 speed on our banner here, which is nice. And then that is getting us to about 5,500 defense, which I think is a pretty good level. You're going to struggle to get too much higher than this with speed boots, but I mean, the higher you can get it, the higher her shields will be. You can also sacrifice a little bit to get her crit rate up. That would definitely help me do more damage in this comp. If my champions had higher crit rate, I would like that, and it would get it closer to a 2 key. Right now we're looking at a 3 key on every affinity. But she doesn't need accuracy or anything like that for the clan boss. So basically you want her defense as high as possible. A decent chunk of HP doesn't hurt either. So that is Valkyrie. Let's take a look at masteries real quick as well before I forget. So Draco, we've got him in crit rate, crit damage coming down to War Master. We got him in Heart of Glory to do a little bit extra damage when attacking with full HP. And then Life Drinker just to heal him up a little bit when he's below 50%. And then over here, I took the support tree to come down into Lore of Steel. I also grabbed Master Hexer. I don't think this is a necessity for Draco in this setup. Like I said, you can definitely go into the defense tree instead. It might be better because you could grab some extra defense, blast proof to take less damage, rejuvenation to increase the shields he gets, all that good stuff. And it would probably work out better for him. And down the road, when I change up his build, that is what I will be doing. But for the time being, these masteries work out pretty well as well. For my Valkyrie here, I have her coming down to War Master, and then all those masteries I said that would be good on Draco. You don't necessarily need these counterattack masteries. This one is okay. It's only really going to come into play when we are having our Padma take a stun against the green boss, but still a little bit extra chance to counterattack never hurts. Since she is a counterattack champion, this one, Retribution, really isn't ever going to come into play because she's always going to have that counterattack up when she needs it. Alright, so we've gone over those two. Let's go ahead and talk about Padma next. So Padma's mastery is pretty much what you've seen, coming down to War Master. She's also taking Lore of Steel and Master Hexer. That's just extra insurance to make sure that our attack down is going to stay up the whole time. Then as far as her main build goes, I've got her in crit rate gloves. I've got her in defense % chest and defense % boots, like I said. That is why I needed the Lore of Steel to get her to 219 where she is. And they are 3 speed sets to make sure we get as much speed as possible out of all of these. So you want Padma to be pretty close to 100% crit rate. Mine is at 98%, so she is going to always have that decreased attack on her A1 since it does require... It has a 100% chance to place it as long as you get a critical hit. So that is all good on Padma. As far as her jewelry goes, she's got a defense ring, crit damage amulet, and an accuracy banner to make sure she's putting out a decent amount of damage for us. Alright, so we've got those 3. Let's go ahead and talk next about Grizzled Jarl. So Grizzled Jarl, I actually have him in defense % gloves, HP % chest. Now I would like this to be defense %, but you can see it has some very good speed rolls on it. So that's what I needed in order to get him to that 265 number. Grizzled Jarl has a very low, well not very low, but a pretty low base speed of 95, so it is a little bit harder to get him where you want him to be. And then finally, we've got speed boots on him. Now the thing about him having pretty high HP that's actually going to work out well for us is he will not be taking the stun. So I put him in the leader position and Draco in the second position. But Draco is actually going to be taking the stun for us. And the reason that's good for us is because Valkyrie's shield will fall off of Grizzled Jarl since he goes after her before the stun attack comes in. So you do want Draco to be taking the stun, that way the shield is still up on him and he has a better chance of survival. So this increased HP does help to make sure he's not targeted. You could also alternatively put Draco Morph into the first slot on your comp to make sure that Draco gets targeted if your Grizzled Jarl does not have high levels of HP. So keep that in mind. As far as his jewelry goes, I have him in defense, defense, and defense. He doesn't have high crit rate at all, so no point going crit rate on or crit damage on the amulet. And I don't need him to place the decreased attack or the heal reduction, so I do not want any accuracy on him. So that is the build. He's in 3 speed sets, and as far as masteries go, I did need the Lore of Steel to get him to that 265 number. So that's what we've got. Sniper was completely irrelevant, as would be Master Hexer. I just wanted to get that little red dot to go away. And then we are coming down into War Master over here. So ideally with Grizzled Jarl, if you have the gear to do it, you would come into the defense tree, get the blast proof, get all this stuff right along here as I've done with my other champions. But like I said, this comp is very gear intensive, so you do what you can with what you have. That's why the Deadwood Jedi website is very important, and I highly recommend it because you can test around the stuff and see, okay, well, if I put Lore of Steel on, then what speed would I get to? Would that work out? It is a very useful tool. And finally, we're going to look at Seeker here. So Seeker's got the masteries that I mentioned before. Coming down into War Master, Life Drinker. He's got Cycle of Violence just for other content, doesn't really matter. And then the defense tree, we're grabbing the Blast Proof, we're grabbing Rejuvenation to increase shields, and we're coming down to these counterattack masteries. And then as far as gear goes, got him in HP percent gloves. Again, defense would be pretty good, but honestly his level of defense is already pretty solid. 3800 is one of the highest that my champions have. So he's pretty solid there, which means the HP percent is just coming in to give him a little bit more survivability on the HP front, which is nice. And then he does have a defense percent chest and speed boots. So that is all coming together to get him to that 248 that we need without the Lord of Steel mastery, because he does not have it. He has a defense banner, defense amulet, and defense ring. Now you could go crit damage on this. His crit rate isn't super high, but it is decent, 58%. So I could go crit damage, but honestly, I don't think it would make that big of a difference. So I'm going to stick with defense for now. So those are the builds, guys. Let's go ahead and get into a run here. So today I'm going to be showing you this comp against a blue affinity on Ultra Nightmare. I will also wait until another day where it goes green and show you that in the same video. That way we can see exactly how it plays out on both affinities. But against blue, super easy. I can just come in here. We have the setup, Grizzled Jarl on the lead, Draco second, Padma, Valkyrie, and Seeker in the last position. Seeker is the one you want stunned the least because that'll completely mess up your 2-1. Valkyrie is the second most valuable target, so you want her second to last in the comp, just to make sure she's not taking those stun hits as much. But actually, against blue, she will be taking them. But with Grizzled Jarl, he'll block them all, so it doesn't really matter. She actually has very high defense, which means that she is actually an optimal target for the stun, which is going to make us do a pretty decent amount of damage on blue because she can survive a lot longer taking those stun hits than some of the other champions can. So let's jump into it here. It's going to say you don't have an aura. None of these champions have an aura that's helpful for us, but it doesn't really matter. So we can go ahead and get in here and run it. And like I said, it's going to go perfectly fine on auto. So I'll just go ahead and let it run until turn 4 and we'll start to see the 2-1 come through. We'll also see that Valkyrie's stun will get blocked when it comes to the first stun round on turn 3. So we've got our counterattacks going off here. And this fight does take a while, so you can just throw it on auto, leave your phone, and come back to it like, I think 13 minutes later or so. And it'll be done for you. So let's see here, we're about to come up onto the stun round, so we should be seeing the block debuffs come out here. Padma and Seeker go, just as we predict, and that comes out on Valkyrie. It is blocked, and there we go, we are going. So now after this next clan boss hit is when we're going to start to see it go 2-1. So I'll go ahead and slow it down as soon as that happens. Let these counterattacks happen. Oh, and it should be noted that for this, both Seeker and Grizzled Jarl will not have counterattack up for AoE 1, so they will not be getting counterattacks for that. So the defense masteries actually can come into play there for the two of them. As we can see here, we get all of our people going. We've got our boost from Seeker, and this is the first turn where we got our 2-1. I forgot to mention it, so we're going to get our counterattacks here. And then we will go ahead, I'll speed it up, and we'll count it out here. So this is where we're going to start going on our 2-1. So Padma's going first at her 220, and then Seeker goes second. We're going to have our Draco going third, Valkyrie fourth, and finally Grizzled Jarl. Then we're going to have Padma go again for her turn 2. Seeker's going to go for his turn 2. And then we will see all three of these guys go, and finally it'll be the clan boss turn. And there we go, we are at a 2-1, so we'll go ahead and let it go on auto from here, and I'll come back in towards the end of the fight, and we'll just see how we do. Alrighty, so we are coming up towards the end of the fight here, and actually this is one of the worst runs I've had on blue. I think we are going to still be seeing about 23 million key, which is still going to be in 3 key territory. But Dracomorph did die early, probably due to a critical hit. So as you can see, there are some RNG factors that can go into it. Now, once one of your champions is dead, that's going to mess up the rotation, and you will no longer be on a 2-to-1 basis against the clan boss. But that's just kind of how it goes. So we've got our shields back up here. We are going to last a little bit longer, but without Dracomorph, we're not doing a ton of damage here. We're probably going to die on this next hit from the clan boss, bringing us to about 22 million damage. Stun hit comes out, so we're actually going to survive a little bit longer. If we can get the Valk shields up before the clan boss goes again, then we will survive, but that's going to be it for us. So 22 million. That is, like I said, a pretty low key against the blue affinity. Let's go ahead and look here because I did already hit it today on blue as well. So 51 million, that means that the last key was 29 million. So we just got really unlucky with that key there. 22 million is probably about the bottom of what this comp can do. But I've seen it hit over 30 million on blue, over 30 million on green, and it typically averages about 27 million on red. So now that we've had a look at the blue affinity clan boss, let's go ahead and take a look at what we do on green. So like I said, basically we're just going to be putting a 1-turn delay on our Grizzled Jarl's A2. So let's jump in here. I should also mention Padma is in the front spot. We want her to take the stun instead of Valkyrie. So we're definitely going to want her right here and Valkyrie towards the back of our team comp. She could be in either one of these two positions would be my recommendation. Especially on green affinity, she could definitely be in your last position. Let's go ahead and jump in here. No aura, we know. Come in here, turn it off auto, and basically all we have to do is come in here, use the A3 on our Grizzled Jarl, and then throw it back on auto, and it is going to work completely fine for us now. We're going to have our rotation properly throughout the entire fight. We will see here we are going to take the slow from the first A2 from the clan boss. So that's going to happen here in just a second. As soon as our team gets through here. And here he goes. So we do take that slow. It shouldn't mess up the run, however. We should get into a proper 2-1 sync by turn 4, just like always. Basically, Seeker runs out his right away because he takes the extra turn. And now we should see Padma take the stun. We do. So as soon as he goes for his 4th turn here, that's when we should start to see our 2-1 come into play. So I'll go ahead and slow it down as soon as he hits. Actually, we'll run out the counter attacks really quick first. Now we'll go ahead and slow it down. So we should be seeing 2-1 starting here. So Padma takes her first. We've got 1 on Seeker, 1 on Draco, 1 on Valk, and 1 on Grizzled. And then we should see 2 on Padma, 2 on Seeker, and then 2 on the rest. And that's how we know that we are properly in sync for our 2-1. And that'll do it. So we're going to block the slow here. And we are properly in sync now. So that is going to run for the entirety of the fight. So I am going to let it play out here, and then I will come back at the end and we will see the results. Alright, so we are coming up on the end of the run here. Our Padma just went down, and now it is going to be falling out of sync on our 2-to-1 turn ratio. So it looks like we're going to be hitting about 30 million, which is about what we expect to hit on green at the moment. Now with better gear, I think we could definitely be hitting a 2-key on green and potentially blue. But this is what we've got for the time being. So here we go. We're just going to come up on this last turn here. The clan boss is going to take them both out. 30.5 million on green. So it's pretty sweet. You can use the same team on every affinity. You only have to manual 1 turn on Grizzled Jarl on the green affinity. And other than that, it is completely auto-friendly. Takes about 9 minutes on unlimited frames. That's probably going to be somewhere along the lines of 13 minutes on your phone or a tablet. But that's going to be it for today, guys. So make sure to subscribe if you have not already. You can join the Discord down below if you have any questions, any concerns, anything like that. I'm always happy to help you guys out, and thanks for watching.